Welcome back to Here's Next Door. Thank you all for watching today. This morning we're going to be doing a station rigs. We're at Townline Volunteer Fire Company outside of Buffalo, New York. They have a couple UTVs with tracks on it. So this is something we've never seen before. So we're going to talk to their chief and have him describe what's going on. But before we do, I want to thank our sponsors with Aura Digital Securities, Deck Systems, and our newest sponsor, Mint Mobile. Hey, Steve, nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thanks for inviting us back out. When we were doing the tour, we talked to Will, and we came across these UTVs. These are pretty special UTVs.
Yeah, so we actually run two of them, but they have tracks. That's the biggest thing. Everybody kind of wonders why we do it. We actually run them all year round. We've actually proven out that in all conditions they're great. We've been up to mud up halfway up to them and pull right out. We pulled other UTVs out and everything. We have a lot of land out this way. We have a lot of hunters. We have some bike paths that get closed during hunting season, the snowfall, right? So we decided to opt in for the tracks. We have, like I said, we have two of them. We have this Polaris.
Okay.
And then we also, in the back over there, we have a Kubota.
Okay.
They're both gasoline. We're not running any diesel with them, so that way we had a little consistency in there.
Are they set up the same?
No, they're not. So this one actually just has an EMS skid set up on it. So we keep this skid in it all the time. And then the Kubota actually has a fire skid in it, and the Kubota's running an 80-gallon tank on it with a pump.
Okay.
We have forestry hose in there as well as a booster line on it, so they can actually take this out and get it into the woods, get it into the tree lines, and have 80 gallons of water to run with it. So it gives us a lot of versatility between the two. We have one trailer. We have a 34-foot trailer that we actually have our squad pull. And both are staged in there all the time.
That's
so
pretty
we can
slick, yeah.
Use it for anything. And the fire skid can be used for EMS if needed.
Right, right. The one thing that I've known over the last couple of years is I've done the Outer Banks, I've gone to Michigan, we actually played on the dunes. Side-by-sides are becoming very popular, whether it's a two-seater, four-seater, side-by-sides are very, very popular. So it makes sense for EMS or fire departments to start getting into the side-by-side business.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not the only ones. Most of the departments around us are running some type of UTV. Most have converted to UTVs from ATVs. As you head south towards the ski areas, they've been more prevalent there, and now they're making their way up here. We didn't have a need for this last storm to run these, but the previous one we had several years ago, we actually had a mutual aid company from outside of this area come in with one, and it just was able to crawl over the snow. Snowmobiles can't even do it when it's so fresh. This distributes the weight wonderfully.
Yeah, it's a beautiful machine. It's got the winch on the front. Can you kind of talk us what you set it up with?
Yeah, sure. So this is a 900 cc side-by-side. We set up with a winch and a light bar in the front just so we have that additional light. There are emergency lights on it just in case we have to be on the road, but also while we're in the woods, if we are assisting, it's noticeable.
Right.
You know, it's not just a noise coming down, just somebody. We have all of that set up with it.
Would these be considered road legal here too?
So for us, we can because we're a fire department.
Okay.
To make it street legal, it has to be registered. We have insurance on them and everything. It has to have a plate on it.
Okay.
So we don't run plates on ours because most of it's for the off-roading. But as an emergency service, we can.
Do you also have the wheels for this, or do you just leave the tracks on all the time?
We leave the tracks on all the time, but we do have the wheels. We can convert. In fact, we keep them in the trailer. So if in an emergency we had to, if one of the tracks broke down, we could swap it out to get it back into the trailer and not have to worry about getting it towed or anything like that.
Okay. So your personnel that drives this, do they have to take any kind of special driving courses or anything like that?
So we do a lot of in-house driving with it, and there's already tracks out around us if you haven't seen them.
You got to do some training.
They took some advantage of the snow we did have to
Yeah.
get familiar with them. Several of us have actually taken a UTV course that the county has put on, and given us an opportunity to get out with them and actually go through and get used to them. There are some things with them. With the tracks, you have to have them 4-wheel drive. You can't put them in 2 because they'll actually overheat,
Okay.
and you'll actually damage the transmission for it.
That's good to know.
We've also upgraded the springs to the strongest springs they had on both of them, especially the Kubota, because it's running 80 gallons and 8 gallons, so 640 gallons just by weight in the water.
You end up getting that California squat kind of thing.
And this was our first UTV we had, and we used to swap the skid out, and that was always a concern. We maxed out what we could with the weight capacity and everything. The Kubota just does a better job at it.
Right. So when you go out, do you take 2 personnel? Do you put one in the jump seat? How would you normally run this on a call? Say maybe, I'm stuck in the snow or I'm out in the woods, I fell out of my hunting tree, and you got to come get me. How do you guys run it?
So minimum 2.
Okay.
We'd prefer to have in this one 3, because we have the 3rd seat with an EMT, be able to take care of the patient. That way you have 2 people that are keeping eyes on the trail and everything, making sure that something doesn't creep up or you have an issue on one side over the other. The Kubota is a little different. It doesn't have that seat for that EMS provider.
It doesn't have the jump seat here.
Correct,
Okay.
and that's the downside to it, but you have to give something up to have the fire skid, but we do have the ability to take the Stokes onto the fire skid as well.
Okay. So how does this, you just can remove this back part?
Yep. Yeah, so they're actually removable. They actually have tie-down bolts right into them.
Okay.
And they lock right into the body. They actually have hooks in the beds.
Okay. Is this a dump bed then also?
It is, but we've actually secured it.
Okay.
So you don't have an issue with it in
Right.
case somebody accidentally hits it or anything.
Right. These are absolutely amazing. Has there been any function that you've gone to that you're like, it just didn't work, or maybe you got it stuck or anything like that?
We've never gotten it stuck, famous last words, but
Yeah.
we've had it out for fires. We used it on a big grass fire a couple years back, which was great. It just runs through everything. We've had it out when we've done training with it. We've had the mud up to the side. In fact, it was during one of our the UTV trainings that we did from the county, and when we did it, we were dead stopped in the middle, and everybody else is getting stuck around us. We were able to get out, hook up our winch, and we pulled out other UTVs out of it that had just wheels.
Yeah.
There's just so much more traction with it.
Right. And you got a full-size sked. It's not a half sked or anything like that. I've seen one. We've actually done a couple of these UTVs. We did one out of Minquist Fire Ambulance, where I was from, where we did a trail run. That's got a skid on it. And then we did one out of East Brandywine, which has the pumper kind of stuff on it. So the fact that you guys have both of them to service your community does really, really well.
And because of the way we pair it with the squad, we have another Stokes. That one does break into 2 pieces, but we have an additional Stoke. So we always have 2 Stokes when this is being pulled because the squad's taking it.
Okay. How often do you guys get to use these?
Not that often, actually.
Okay.
It's more of a just in case.
Yeah.
With the storm, we had pulled this one out and had it inside the station with the other one accessible if need be, because you never know what you're going to have. We've taken them out on several calls, mutual aids, missing hunter or somebody that fell in the woods, things like that.
Right.
The bike path during the winter in our area is the ambulances can get down it, but with the snow, they're not going to try.
Right.
So you get a quarter of a mile in, and that's 3/4 of a mile in. I'm sorry, before a road. So these come in handy to be able to get somebody out if need be.
Yeah, it's an excellent tool to have for service. Okay, we may not use it a whole lot, but when you need it, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have a whole set of EMS gear, right?
Yep. So this set's with it in the trailer. So the trailer has one full set, and then again, the squad has its own EMS supplies.
Okay.
So that's why we can take both at the same time if need be, put EMS on both of them.
Is there any special gear that you need to wear when you drive one of these? Because I know when I was on the dunes in Michigan, they're all wearing helmets and gloves and goggles.
Yeah, so we've purchased helmets.
Okay.
So
basic
for our
belt helmet.
members.
It's not motorcycle helmet or anything like that.
We do allow for our fire helmets as well,
Okay.
but they have to be strapped down so that way they're actually wearing them.
Right.
For an actual call, we require bunkers on, obviously the winter, temperatures are affected, everything like that, so
Sure.
jackets and stuff like that. We tell them, take the stuff with you because you never know what situation you're going to run into.
Right.
They can load up, our squad has electric saws on it, DeWalt saws on it. So we have 2 of those. They can throw those in one of the skids and take those with them in case they need to, because you're not always going to be able to get back to that area. Just because somebody walked through that path doesn't mean a UTV is going to get through.
Right.
They go through a lot,
Right.
but there are stuff that stops.
So today's not too bad, but during a snowstorm, it gets kind of cold. Do they have heat and stuff in it? I see it's got a windshield.
Yeah, so we have a windshield on both of them. And that's been a conversation piece about should we get one of these set up with doors and heat and everything like that. We haven't done it yet.
Okay.
I have a feeling if we are, it's going to be this unit that's going to have it, because this is the one that's going to be a little bit more important during a storm.
Right.
As right now, we just run the way it is.
Yeah.
It gets cold, but it's not too bad. I mean, we've done stuff with the snowmobile.
Yeah, they used
Groups
to have,
out here, and
where they have the tow behind trailer on the snowmobiles, and you got to gear up with your snowmobile seats there.
Exactly,
So.
and we've done out on their trails, and worked with other companies. That we have a couple of trails that run through our district. Next door in Alden, they have some more, so we've worked with them, and the turnout gear does a pretty decent job. It's more reminding people to bring hats.
Right.
That's usually the biggest thing, is they forget to keep their heads
Because
warm.
they put their helmet on, they forget a hat.
Exactly.
So this is absolutely amazing. Do you mind? Do you think we could take this
Oh,
maybe
we can
for a
absolutely
ride?
take it for a ride.
Awesome. So before we do that, guys, do us a favor. Hit subscribe, hit notification, and keep smashing those like buttons. Stay tuned, because we're going to take these for a ride. So as we go through here, you have a little bit of land to practice with. About how much acres do you have?
It's somewhere around 5 acres.
Okay.
We're not quite back halfway on our property.
It doesn't even hesitate.
No,
Yeah.
it's a harder turn.
Okay.
You can't get nearly as sharp of a turn with it, but it definitely has no problem getting through.
Is there any depth of snow that you get really concerned about, or?
It's more of if it's compressed or not.
Okay.
So fresh snow does concern us a little bit because you'll sink in it.
Okay.
But in all reality, it doesn't really, since you got 4 tracks, it
Right.
actually has the ability to compress and spread the weight out really well.
Right. Yeah, we go right up and over. So what's about the top speed of these things?
With the tracks on, they're about 35 miles per hour.
Okay. And obviously you can go down pretty good angles too there.
Yeah, it does a really good job. The concern is obviously a tipping point. It's more of a sideways tip
Okay.
than a downward or a rear tip because of the weight.
Right.
The extended tracks off the back also assist to make sure that you have that extra. So they're not like a tire where the tire's just at that one point. They have a much wider spread.
Right. Now this is an all-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive?
4-wheel drive.
Okay. That's awesome. Got the snow going up and over. Dude, I would play all day at least.
The asphalt eats up the treads.
Okay.
So we don't do a lot of driving on it if we can avoid it.
Right.
But in all reality, it's not that bad.
Okay. Which is why you have the trailer. The trailer is there to get you to the point
Exactly.
where you need to be, enter into whatever zone. Oh, it goes right up. Oh!
Oh, there it is.
There it is. We were there.
I bottomed out.
I distracted you.
There it is. This is a heavier unit than the other one.
Right.
winch. You're gonna have to hook the winch up. You're gonna have to give me a pull back. It's bottomed out. Well, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is the kind of thing that you need to do when you train too.
Right.
You want to see what the limitations of your vehicles are.
Well,
whether
absolutely.
that's the fire truck, whether that's a utility vehicle, whether that's a UTV, you want to kind of push it to the limit. We've done it in a safe way, but you want to say, okay, what kind of angle can I go up? What kind of brake over that you have, or brake under as you go off the ramp, is important to understand that. So, dude, this is absolutely fun to ride.
It is. They're a blast. It is a little getting used to because, like I said, you can't turn as tightly as you want to. You'll hear the track slip a little bit if you turn too tight.
Okay.
It's more of getting comfortable with it. And this
Right.
is just an example. We've eaten away the snow and we bottomed out.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
There is a winch on the back of this one as well,
Okay.
underneath. And then he's got his winch as well. So
Awesome.
he'll just hook us up and just give us a little tug and we'll come right out.
All right. One of my hobbies is, out four-wheeler or two-track,
Yeah.
and I got a big monster truck, got 37s on it. So I completely understand what just happened. It's not that there wasn't a capability of this, or you're driving. It's just a combination of the environment that you're looking at, and you're going to get stuck at some point. And the question becomes, for your employees or your volunteers that are working this, how do you get out of it? Do they know how to use the winch? Do they know how to get those different things? You may come to an area in the woods where you can't get between two trees, and you got to figure that out. Or you're coming up to a hill and it's just steep enough that you're like, okay, let's use the winch for safety. Not necessarily to get you up the hill, but a safety winch too. There's lots of different ways to do that.
Yeah, and we're pretty flat, which benefits us out here. We do have hills, but not nearly that bad. But the idea is anywhere in the county, we actually have a mutual aid agreement with. So we can be pulled anywhere in the county. And so if we end up having to go to the south towns because they got hammered with snow and they need relief, we can go there. And it's learning that stuff. It's part of it's playing.
Right.
It is playing. It's training. It's it's just because
Playing is training. I love that saying.
just because it's trained doesn't mean it has to be boring. It
Right.
can be a lot of fun.
Exactly.
This is one of those times.
Well, I thank you very much for taking us out on a ride. We appreciate you. Once again, this is Heroes Next Door. Thank you all for joining us. Before we end, do us a favor, hit that subscribe, hit that notification, and keep smashing those like buttons. We really appreciate it. What we have new going on, we now have Discord, so check out the link below. Join us for Discord, and we can have some communications and see what you guys have. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. So we're going to hopefully take these for a ride. We're going to have these. So we're going to take these for a ride. Nope. So check out the link below.
We've never gotten it stuck. Famous last words. This one actually has a siren.